Welcome to Geocache Adventures, the podcast where we explore everything geocaching. I'm your host, Shadow Dragon 1. I love geocaching. If you're listening to this, you probably love it too. If you enjoy the podcast, consider sharing it with somebody that you think would love it. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and there's a Facebook group as well, so you can join in the fun and share your adventures. There's also a Patreon page that you can join and unlock exclusive content. Hey everybody, welcome to Mini Adventures. For this episode, I thought we'd look at a blog post I found by Podcacher. It's about fighting lazy loggers and geocaching. So we're talking about those geocaching logs where people just put FTFC. I've gotten logs where people just put a period or just put a space in because a space counts as a character, so the log looks like it's empty because it's just a space. So it's kind of hard to fight those logs, but they did offer a few suggestions. So here are the tips that they suggested. Provide a path tag or similar small prize to cachers who write quality logs. Okay. Suggest the finder write their log using a theme. Announce log of the month prizes or similar awards in your local geocaching community or at an event. Practice what you preach, write good logs yourself, and above all, make a fun, quality hide interesting. And remember that you can make logging suggestions, but you can't make it a requirement. So I thought these were interesting tips. Providing a small prize to quality logs, that's interesting, might be a little hard to keep up with. Like, how often do you do that? I guess you get to decide that. It is an interesting incentive. A lot of people do like path tags. But I feel like those who would be incentivized by that are going to be the ones that are already writing decent logs. It's the same with the theme or the game where each log adds to a story. Usually the people that participate in those are the people that are already putting some effort into logs. Now, however, that doesn't mean that it's not a good idea to suggest such a thing, because especially for, like, say a park and grab or something, if you suggest writing your log as a limerick, that might be something somebody didn't think to do before, and it's just a fun little twist that they can add to their log. And people will do that, and it's fun for the cache owner to see, what they came up with, similar to liar's caches. You write a fun little crazy adventure story for your log that has nothing to do with the actual park and grab the cache was. Usually, in my experience, I'm going to say the people who participate in those kinds of things are the people that like to write good logs to start with. But they may not think about writing it as a limerick or something like that if you don't put that idea out there. So it is really fun to put those ideas out there for, your caches to, hey, have some fun, log it as a limerick or add to the storyline or something. Those are fun things to do. Really, it's hard to combat geocachers that don't want to write logs. And really, some geocaches, it's hard to write some kind of long detailed log for. If you're just getting a park and grab in between running errands, there's not a lot to say about a pill bottle under a lamppost light. But even those, I try to write something at least a little bit. Instead of just TFTC, I'll write grab while running errands. I try to put a couple sentences even in for a quick park and grab. Grab this while I was out doing this with so-and-so. Thanks for the cache. That little bit of effort can go a long way to a cache owner. Really, I think the best way to combat lazy logs or lack of logs, however you want to look at it, one is to put effort into your own logs, put effort to your geocaches, even though you can have a really amazing creative geocache or gadget cache and still end up with TFTC or found it or a period. Just having a really amazing cache doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get an amazing log. And I think part of it is we just have to accept that. But I think the best way that we can combat that is when you're out there talking to newer cachers, encourage them to write a little more in their logs. If you're a cache owner and you get a log from somebody, you could reach out to them and say, hey, this was a really great log. Thanks for the effort. That'll keep encouraging them to do that, especially if it's a newer finder. If you meet a newer cacher in the community, that's something that you can do. Encourage them to, hey, if you do your logs, it's really awesome if you put a little thought and effort, make it a couple sentences or something. I really think that's the best way to combat lazy logs, is to just kind of, as you introduce people to the game, kind of try to impress that on them. I do that with my son. As we find a geocache, I try to encourage him. He's writing his own logs now, typing it on his phone or using the voice text. I encourage him to say a little more in his logs. And really, I think that's the best way to do it. So what are your thoughts? Do you have ways that you try to combat lazy loggers? Have you ever deleted a log for being just absolutely lazy and no effort? I've never heard of somebody doing that, but I imagine there's somebody out there that has. What are your thoughts? What inspires you to write a great log? I'd love to hear what you have to say about it, so let me know.